At long last, we are here. It's the final marching band playoff bracket of the 2024 competitive marching band season. However, unlike previous brackets, this one will contain 64 bands. That's right, the top 64 bands from around the country are then divided into 4 different regional brackets, a la the NCAA basketball tournament March Madness. Now, we had intended to release this bracket over Thanksgiving, but we thought, why don't we capitalize on all the talk and all the hype of the final college football playoff bracket, which was released this weekend. After all, this bracket was inspired by college football and their bracket. So, hey, let's join our forces together. Yes, band talk has died down a little bit. We have closed the door on 2024, and many programs have already opened the door to 2025. But let's talk about 2024 one last time here at General Effect Media for this final marching band playoff bracket. Now, before we get to the bracket, let's talk about how we picked our 64 bands. As soon as the last marching band contest was over in Indianapolis, in California, in Florida, we put together a long list of marching bands that we think could be included in this top 64. After much discussion and contemplating and slight debate and not really yelling or fighting or anything like that, but maybe some more impassioned pleas than other, we came up with our top 64 bands. Now, unlike previous weeks of the marching band playoff bracket, there are no auto qualifiers from every region. However, there is at least one representative from every region, so I suppose you could say those were the number 1 seeds from those regions, but that's working entirely different this time. Also, when we were looking at the top 64 bands, we did not want to punish bands who did not go to Grand Nationals, or punish bands who did not make their state marching contest finals, or punish bands who didn't play longer into the season than others. Also, we didn't want to give extra credit or push bands too high if they did go to Grand Nationals or if their season lasted longer. So just because you went to Grand Nationals and you made semifinals or you made finals doesn't mean you will or will not make this top 64. Remember, there are more than just 12 bands in the entire country, and not all of them went to Grand Nationals. So we looked at all the bands that were competing everywhere that we have seen, that we have heard, whether we were live or whether on video or whether just audio, and we put them together and we created our top 64 list for this final marching band playoff bracket. And how we filled out the bracket was very similar, if not exactly like the NCAA, 1 through 64. The top 4 are our number 1 seeds in different regions. And then using the S curve, we then filled out the bracket from our 4 different regions. That means you have a 1 seed, a 1 seed, a 1 seed, a 1 seed. Those are your top 4. And then 5 through 8 are your number 2 seeds, number 2, number 2, number 2, number 2. Notice I went backwards. And then we get the 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are your 3 seeds. 3 seed, 3 seed, 3 seed, 3 seed, etc. all the way until we get our overall number 1 and our overall number 64. And if you want to figure out exactly where maybe a particular band was ranked overall, you can figure out basically a 4-band range based on their seeding, no matter which region they are in the overall bracket. And lastly, just like the NCAA basketball tournament, each number 1 seed will host a band contest at a stadium close to their location to give a little bit of a home field advantage. We didn't go much further and create a semifinals location or a finals location. Figuring out 1 through 64 and 4 different regions was more than enough to handle for this time out. So with all of that out of the way, and hopefully with our criteria clear to everyone, let's get to the brackets. Let's start with our 4 number 1 seeds. Our number 1 overall seed from the Midwest region, hosting their contest at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana, Avon. Our second number 1 seed from the South, hosting their contest at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas, Flower Mound. Our third number 1 seed from the West, hosting their contest at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada, Broken Arrow. And our fourth number 1 seed from the East, hosting their contest at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, Carmel. Yes, we picked 4 stadiums, 3 that have hosted marching band and drum corps contests before, and one that, well, hasn't exactly, but it was the furthest west dome that we could think of short of picking St. Louis. We went with the Legion in Las Vegas, so that's where our contests are going to be held for our 4 regions. So now, let's break down the brackets from each of those 4 regions. Starting with the Midwest bracket, taking place at Lucas Oil Stadium, we have number 1 Avon taking on number 16 Norwin. Number 2 Marcus takes on number 15 South Lake Carroll. Number 3 The Woodlands takes on number 14 Lake Travis. Number 4 Bridgeland takes on number 13 Fishers. Number 5 Coppell takes on number 12 Homestead. Number 6 Round Rock taking on number 11 Wakeland. Number 7 McNeil takes on number 10 Westwood. And number 8 Keller will take on number 9 Cypress Woods. We turn our attention to the south, the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas, where number 1 seed Flower Mound will take on number 16 Rosemount. Number 2 Blue Springs will take on number 15 Bartlett. Number 3 Vandergrift takes on number 14 Kiski area. Number 4 Ronald Reagan will take on number 13 Brownsburg. Number 5 Bentonville will take on number 12 Jenks. Number 6 Castle will take on number 11 Wiley. Number 7 Lafayette, Kentucky, will take on number 10 Owasso. And number 8 Wando will take on number 9 Waxahachie. We now go to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada for the West region, where number 1 Broken Arrow takes on number 16 Friendswood. Number 2 Tarpon Springs takes on number 15 Saxe. Number 3 Cedar Park will take on number 14 LD Bell. Number 4 William Mason takes on number 13 Dawson. Number 5 Pearland will take on number 12 Claudia Taylor Johnson. Number 6 Seven Lakes takes on number 11 Cy Fair. Number 7 James F. Burns takes on number 10 Dripping Springs. And number 8 Leander takes on number 9 James Bowie. And finally, the South region held at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, where number 1 Carmel takes on number 16 Hendrickson. Number 2 Hebron sees number 15 Catawba Ridge. Number 3 Vista Ridge versus number 14 Mo and Gene Johnson. Number 4 Rouse takes on number 13 Lone Star. Number 5 Cedar Ridge sees number 12 Aledo. Number 6 American Fork takes on number 11 Vista Murrieta. Number 7 Dobbins Bennett takes on number 10 O'Fallon Township. And number 8 Prosper will take on number 9 Westlake, Texas. And there we have our 4 16-band brackets totaling 64 for our top 64 bands in the final week of the marching band playoff bracket. Now, yes, there may be some seedings and some matchups that make you go, and we totally get that. Some of these bands are separated by mere tenths, but we have to look at things like competition, we have to look at show design, we look at longevity, we look at a lot of things in placing the bands, but more often than not, sometimes we have to just trust our guts and instinct when we ranked these bands. And also, there are a lot of bands that were left out of this top 64. There are more marching bands out there than 64. That is a statistical fact. Nobody is disputing that. And yes, there are bands that have made their state finals, that have made regional finals, that have made super regional finals, and have competed at prelims, semis. I don't know if there's any finalist bands from Grand Nationals that didn't make this list, but there are bands that did quite well at national competitions that may not have heard their name called out or been a part of this top 64. When you put a cap on the number of bands, some bands are going to get in, more bands are going to get left out. So with all of that, why don't you let us know in the comments section down below, who did we whiff on? Who did we miss? What band did we not call out, or what bands deserve to be included in this top 64? Let us know in the comments section down below. Also, what do you think about our overall 4 seeds? What do you think about the overall number 1 seed? How do you like or dislike the way we broke the bands apart into 4 different regions? Much like the NCAA basketball tournament, at least as much as I understand it, the number 1 seed basically picks the location. You want the location closest to that. I then extended it to number 2 because it was a Texas group and said, well, they should compete at the Alamo Dome. Number 3 is Broken Arrow. Again, we didn't want to put them in St. Louis, which was basically a straight line of Indianapolis, St. Louis, Alamo Dome. So we moved them out west to Allegiant, and that left us with the Atlanta Stadium, where we used to have a super regional at the old Falcons Stadium, but now there's not a show in the summer or fall at Mercedes-Benz. But for the purposes of this marching band playoff bracket, there is. They are hosting the Eastern Regional. Let us know in the comment section down below what you think about all of the stuff having to do with the final marching band playoff bracket. And if you are not subscribed to the Substack, I recommend that you do, because we will be sending out a link to each of these 4 regional brackets so you can fill them out and let us know maybe who you think would come out of each matchup, what band would come out of each bracket, and ultimately who would be your national champion. When we put these top 64 bands together, we said, if we put all these 64 bands together at one show, one neutral site show, and I guess St. Louis would be the most neutral. Actually, we'd probably have to send them to Allegiant Stadium or send them to somewhere in the Northeast or Alaska, or we all go to somewhere overseas. Regardless, this is how we think 1 through 64 the bands would come out if they were all competing against each other. However, in a bracket like this, you are not competing against 63 other bands. You're competing against the one band you have to beat. So there could be some surprises when it's all said and done. Will it be chalk? I don't know. Could it be chalk? It's possible, but more likely than not, there would be an upset here or there with just different bands facing other bands with different strengths and weaknesses. So again, subscribe to the Substack so that you can get the bracket sent to you. You can print it out, you can fill it out, and we would love to see how you decided or how you feel a bracket and matchup would turn up. So let us know in the comment section below. Send us an email about it. Send us a message, send us a DM, all of those things. I think I might fill out the bracket and let you know what I think would happen and put it on here, and then maybe include a number of yours, if not all of them, if we don't get a whole bunch of them, but maybe include your thoughts about which bands would win what contest, bracket, etc., etc. So let us know. That'd be a lot of fun. You can, we'll put the bracket of the 4 different regions, and then we'll put the giant bracket so you can kind of see how it all goes, and you can pick your grand national band of the universe of the year 2024. So, man, this was a lot of fun this year putting this together. Not sure if we're going to continue the Marching Band Playoff Bracket in 2025 or if we're going to do something different. Regardless, we will be ranking and seeding bands next year. Just a matter of how we're going to do it. This was a fun thought experiment. We may go with something different next year so that maybe there's a little bit more inclusion, maybe that there's a little more wiggle room for bands, maybe tiers as opposed to exact seedings and numbers. Not really sure, but we'll figure it out. Why don't you let us know in the comment section or through DM or email what you thought about the bracket, how we could improve the bracket, should we change it, should we keep it, all that. It's been a lot of fun. I know we're in December. Marching band's long since over, unless you are in playoff football season, which means you probably are still doing marching band, or maybe you're forming your school's letter, playing the fight song, the drill team song, and getting off the field. But regardless, it's been a great season. Thanks for sticking around with us all fall long here at General Effect Media. We will be back throughout between now and WGI season with some random videos, some off-season videos having to do with marching band, drum corps, WGI, music in general, and then everything kicks up all over again for indoor, drum corps, and then we're right back for marching band season. So, thanks so much for watching, for participating, for commenting, for enjoying. We'll see you in the next video, and next year sometime for whatever our ranking, seating, tier thing ends up. General Effect Media. Happy holidays, everyone.